Organizers. Okay, okay. The more you know.
He is not he's a driver on the Wednesday night stuff.
Yeah,
maybe he's racing tonight, but he typically is not race here, I don't think.
Yeah.
Hey, real quick, can I see the points? If we're not live, are we live? Okay, never mind. Okay. I'll figure it out. I had the spreadsheet.
With the Butt Kicker Gamer 2, what you see and what you hear is what you feel. Butt Kicker. The future is feeling.
Tonight, the drivers of the PRL F3 Series are live in the beautiful country of Hungary at the Hungaroring. Hello, everyone, and welcome to RaceSpotTV's coverage of the Precision Racing League F3 Series. I am Derek Watson, joined here tonight in the booth by Lorenzo Bonder. Lorenzo, we're in Hungary.
Yeah, we're in Hungary. We are Hungaroring, a predominantly high downforce track. We know it's F1 weekend also for this track, and not known for a lot of overtakes, but also it's known for that turn one and lots of drama. So it should be an enticing race and with a little bit of a fuel mileage strategy in between.
Yeah, lots of fuel mileage strategy always involved in this series. If we look at the schedule that we've had, of course, next week we're at Aragon, then Donington Park, Nürburgring, the Grand Prix portion, Belle Isle, and Laguna Seca will wrap us up here at the end of the season. Lorenzo, which of these tracks would you most want to race at if you could be part of the series?
Belle Isle. Without a question. Man, I'm a sucker for Belle Isle. I love the track. Unfortunately, not raced anymore in real life because now IndyCar and IMSA did the awesome idea of going to the streets of Detroit. Of course, we know why, the reasons. You probably know more than me, Derek, but as the track itself, in terms of how difficulty and how close you get in, of driver fuel, Belle Isle is always my favorite track out of the bunch.
There you go. Well, that is our schedule. You can see us here every Thursday night here on RaceSpot. Let's take a look at our driver standings coming into tonight. Julio Palacio back at the top of the board, 205 points, followed by Juan Cofre and 192. Then Francisco Goncalves and 181. Then on down, Dominic Olivier, Robert Ridgway, Stephen Verity, J.R. Williams, and on down 8th, 9th, and 10th. Not only about 80 points separates these 10 drivers, Lorenzo.
Which is odd, to think about that Julio Palacio is at the top of the standings, given the fact that, if I remember correctly, I was just taking a look quickly through the results. Julio hasn't won a single race this season. And Juan Cofre is actually the only two-time winner this season. We had three different winners in all our 4 rounds. So it's a bit weird to see Palacio up there, but it shows that the regularity matters a lot in this championship. And we're going to attract that if you're in the front, you have a really good chance to also get some good points. But let's see how it will be, how Cofre will fight back.
Yeah, consistency is important. Let's take a look at the team standings. You got SRT Esport Blue, 80 points ahead of Precision Racing Esports. Atomic Racing's in 3rd. Rust Racing's in 4th. SRT Esport Green is in 5th. Yeez Motorsport Gold. Atomic Geezers, that's my favorite name. AGROCF Racing, I don't know if that's a word or not. 192. Sub Racing, and then Rust Racing Iron rounds out your top 10 here. That's a big dominant lead there, Lorenzo, for the 80 points.
Yeah, it's quite a good lead. I think one of these teams might be from Julio Palacio's team. So that SRT Blue, just having Palacio up at the top of the standings and his teammate doing some consistent points as well is kind of really good. I'm kind of surprised to see also Cofre being 2-time race winner in 8th place. Is the only driver racing for that team, in Agro CF team, into that top 10, but. Precision, I think, can come back in a track like this, and I think they're going to be able to fight back with this race if they actually get within that top 10. I think they're aiming for qualifying.
There you go. Well, let's go ahead and take a moment here and thank our sponsors for this evening. Let's start with our friends over at Advanced Sim Racing, owned and operated by passionate sim racers. Advanced Sim Racing designs and builds the sturdiest and most durable aluminum profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. All PRL members are able to get a 5% discount on all Advanced Sim Racing products using the Precision5 coupon code. Next up is Racebox Sim Racing. Racebox offers mid and high-end button boxes for sim racing enthusiasts, from the casual gamer up to the most meticulous of sim racing drivers. Competitively priced and carefully hand crafted, our button boxes are an enjoyable addition to any sim racing setup. Now visit RaceSpotTV.com and get a 5% discount using the Precision5 coupon code. Next up, the Butt Kicker. Butt Kicker provides an incredible immersion and realism to every game you play. Feel every nuance and every moment on the track as you are in your driver's seat. Next up, Mechasim Hardware. Mechasim Hardware is a small company from the Czech Republic, and their goal is to produce high-quality sim racing hardware. If you're looking for high-end pedal sets, handbrakes, or sequential shifters, visit Mechasim Hardware eShop right now to get you up to speed. Moradness. Moradness is a performance lifestyle brand motivated by motorsports and founded by professional race car driver Daniel Morad. For more information, visit moradness.com. And lastly, Mr. Hedge. Mr. Hedge Racing Photography. Capture your finest, proudest, or well, simply your worst moments from your hobby of sim racing in up to 8K resolution. It's a great addition to any sim room. Go to Mr. Hedge Sim Photography and find out more. Well, with that, Lorenzo, we are ready to check out some qualifying here. And we see some drivers already on track, and we'll get a timer up on your screen in a second here. But look, there's a small draft happening right here already on your screen.
Yeah, we're looking at the 99 from what it looks like, giving the toe just into the start of turn number 1. A heavy braking zone. I think it's probably the heaviest braking zone in the track. It's also going downhill, and we just saw Andrew Moran doing that quite cleanly. One of the things I think for these cars more than, for example, just seeing like the AMG W13, right? It's the fact that this track, like I said before, high downforce. So you expect some air wash, especially going into turn number 2, 3, 4, and also and maybe 5, where the car pushes out a little bit. It gives you that understeer, but because it is an F3 car, maybe that effect is like dumped down a little bit, so you can be doing more clean runs and keep yourself closer. So nailing that lap is going to be essential for you to have a really good top qualifying result, and then being consistent throughout the race. So it should provide some very enticing qualifying, but as we're coming into crunch minutes with less than 2 minutes to go.
And we definitely are. And you see a 137.443 there for the 55 machine. That puts him up to P7. But now we're looking at Joshua Chinsky here. He's going to make a run here as he's just about towards the end of this lap. He's going to get a beautiful track out here and stay wide in that corner. But no surprise, Juan Cofre is up there on the board with the pole. Stephen Verity's in second. So there's a pretty tight battle there. Less than a tenth of a second, Lorenzo, between first and second.
Yeah, really good battle right there between Cofre and Verity. Verity, who had the pleasure of, like, in a back-to-back season, you know, going on the line with Francisco Gonçalves instead of, if I remember correctly, might have been Julio Palacio itself on the line to maybe go for a top spot or like top 5 spot, and that way Verity actually got into top 5 and Gonçalves went 6th. So it's going to be quite interesting how the sub racing is going to do this last corner. You can go very wide into the last sector, but it's not going to be a major improvement for Gonçalves, and I don't think he's going to have time again to continue his best lap, as now we shift up to Cofre, who is trying to do some minor improvement to allow some breathing room for Verity, who's still on a hot lap.
Yeah, when you're Cofre, of course, you're ahead by 13 points, I believe, coming in. We saw on the graphic tonight to Julio Palacio, who is not on the board right now that we see, but Cofre trying to get that extra point for landing on the pole here. You see an onboard shot here over the shoulder. I love this camera angle. A little bit of curve there.
Yeah, you use some curve into the exit and also into the entry to set yourself across the car a little bit, and you do run yourself wide, and there you go. Cofre, not a bad massive improvement for him as the time runs out here, Derek, and I think those who are still doing a lap will be able to finish up that lap, but I don't know how many will be able to do the improvement. One thing, I think if I remember correctly, with these cars, the best lap is the second one, despite of the nature of this track.
Yeah, this is a quite different track and how the speed builds in it. But you're right. When the open qualifying format on iRacing service, if you're on a lap when the checkers falls out, they will let you finish the lap here. And so now this number 308 machine, Gonçalves, is going to try to get around here to see if he can top that 137.214. He's running out of time here as we're coming around the final corner here. Come out of the final corner, and oh, that's maybe too far to track out. That was pretty close. But regardless, not going to beat that time. Ooh, came really close, though. That's a nice 137, and it does count. A 344. That is 4th place right at the buzzer.
Yeah.
That's almost the definition of a buzzer beater, Lorenzo.
Yeah, definitely. Really good first time lap for Gonçalves right there, as now we're shift up to Verity, but his lap looks like he's already in the bin, unfortunately, for Verity, so he's just getting some track reconnaissance as he's going to pull up to the pits. Apparently, the driver right behind him is going to pull up to the pits, and that's all we have done. And does it here, Derek? We're going to have our grid in hand.
Yeah, we'll have a grid. That's a beautiful overhead shot of this track, by the way. But in a moment, our grid will appear on the screen, and we'll run through it with you as soon as we are ready. We're racking up our final results here. But I'm excited to see how the racing will happen tonight in this PRL series. Just waiting for timing and scoring to catch up with us. Here we go. Juan Cofre is your pole sitter, 137.214, followed by Stephen Verity on the outside. J.R. Williams and Francisco Gonçalves make up row number 2. Boris Ovando and Andrew Moran are in row number 3. Calix Poon and Daniel Crayenfuss in 7th and 8th. Ryan Miles and Jake Vasconellos in 10th. Robert Ridgway in 11th. And Dominic Olivier in P12. Move back to P13. Manuel Vargas and Stephen Ritters. Blake Ziti and Brett Thurman, 15-16. And then Jeff Groff and Joshua Chinsky round out your top 18. Rounding out your field here, Richard Swindells and Takeshi Kita back there in 20. Kevin McPherson and Caleb Lehman, 21-22. Olivier Rodriguez Santos in 23rd with Christian Jasper in 24th. 25th, Michael Johnson with Nicholas Collender on the outside. And in the end of the field, Joshua Nonamaker and James Carter round out your 28-car field. Well, here we are, Lorenzo. It's almost time to go. Waiting for everyone to grid up here. We're missing a second-place car right now, but this standing start here at this track, what should drivers know about the standing start here?
Well, if the one thing that you have to know, the track is not wet, therefore we're not going to get a repetition of 2021 in Hungaroring, where everything just went haywire and we saw Lewis Hamilton just being on P1 starting ahead of everybody when they were in the pits. As I think Verity has gridded. I think we only one car short, but turn 1, definitely a heavy braking zone. We can see a lot of contact in there. It can be quite tricky for the drivers, as we're going to get our green light right now.
About to go green any moment here. Live on RaceSpot.TV is the PRL F3 Series 26 laps or time, whichever happens first. We're green flag here at the Hungaroring. Lots of 3-wide action happening through turns 1. Not a surprise with how this track flows. To see now they're out of turn number 2, and quickly our leader has gotten single file here. But there's a lot of action and battle. Look at that battle in the back of the field. I think I saw some calamity already. But let's keep an eye on that, Lorenzo. I thought I saw some cars spinning back there. But look at this. Already we're getting single file at the front of the field.
Majorly single file. Some the 3 wide down in the back. I think that's for 8th place. Not a lot of contact. Everybody's going for a rest, but this is the most dangerous portion of the track for me. But so far, everybody's surviving. No, I said too early. I said too early.
Look at what you did. Oh my goodness, what a wreck. That's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cars I can count involved. That's going to be quite the replay when we get there. There's some major cars involved in this wreck, Lorenzo. And wow, look at them tracking out wide there. That's going to be the end of the race for a few different drivers. We'll have to wait and see what the implications of that are. But back to our lead here. You see Juan Cofres with J.R. Williams up here. And they are quickly trying to pull away here from the field.
Yeah, looking really quickly on the timing screen, it looks like we got Brett Thurman, Jeff Goff, Takeshi Kita notably involved in this crash. So some heavy hitters into the championship already off in this race before we even had a proper lap one done, as we're going to get it done. But in Kofre already nearly beating up a 1 second advantage. Now the thing is here, mark some fuel and make sure the tires don't overheat as Gonçalves defends on the inside against Moran.
Now, one of the differences in the track here, Lorenzo, from real life to sim racing, in real life, this track gets super dusty, and it probably will this weekend during the Hungarian GP for the F1 race. We don't deal with that in iRacing, so you see a difference in how speed builds. But let's watch this replay here before we talk about that. Watch towards the back of the field. It's been Jeff Groff we're going to be staring at. What happened? That's the hard angle to see. Oh my goodness. I think he just... No space given, I think. I wanted to get a different angle of that, but we couldn't see it from that angle. But wow, there's a lot of drivers in the back who can do nothing about that, and they were just part of something. Let's see it again here. This will be a better angle.
Oh, at the back, he's already drifting, going to turn number 5.
Yeah, it looks like he got loose out of it. Yeah.
Yeah, and it got way too early. You can even see some friendly fire out there, some drivers up in the behind. I think that might have been Kita's car that actually made contact with the Atomic Racing car, and unfortunately just caught up in the process. And already 6 cars off with Kalender, Jasper, Thurman, Groff, Kita, and Michael Johnson being the ones involved.
You know, Lorenzo, something that Justin Prince and I talk about weekly here on the broadcast is there's a lot of love in this series amongst the fan base for Takeshi Kita. And someone who astounds us every week because he qualifies near the back but somehow makes his way to the front. If Takeshi Kita could start in the front and avoid those kind of moments, I think Takeshi Kita could be a championship winner here in this F3 series.
I agree. Well, wholeheartedly. You know, I've commentated on Kita before. He's always been a contender, especially I think like 2-3 seasons back with this car. He's always doing some really good hustle with it, and unfortunately, this is the nature of this track. This track is really hard for overtaking, especially after, like, let's say, turn lap 5 or 6, whatever the tires are, you know, built up exceed their own optimal temperature. You're following someone's car behind, like we're seeing around miles over here, going to turn number 5. So the cars are gonna get their rears more heated up because you're following the draft. You're following that aero push, that hot air, and if you're not with a good setup that can fight back the aero push, it's going to be a long day for you. You're going to be marking yourself all day long, or until someone makes some mistakes and then the opportunity shows up for potential.
So we were talking before the replay about the difference in this track maybe versus real life is how much dust there is around this course and how much ends up on the track here during the real life F1 races. Without the dust settling on the track at the same level it does in real life, what does that make different about this track versus real life?
First and foremost, I think might be, like I said before, the aero push, the downforce, right? Because F1 cars you race so much downforce, it's much harder for you to get closer. Surely the aero drag effect, I think we're seeing that there might be about up in front, but anyway, they're becoming a little bit more closer. You can have more close racing without burning the rears a little bit. Makes it a little bit more challenging. You can also try to follow closer, as we nearly saw Miles trying to go for an overtake on the train for us. Importantly also, this track doesn't look like to have marbles, and marbles over here, if you catch even the tiniest of marbles in one lap, it's kind of hard for you to scrub that off, which might be the only potential hazard in comparison to the real life dust, because you are right in the middle of a mountain range in Hungary, and you have a lot of crosswind, and I don't know which direction it is in terms of winter now, because you can have a lot of tailspin just because you have strong winds in this track.
Yeah, you can have some pretty strong winds. I'm not sure if we can get a weather update from our producer. If we could, I'd like to see that, but see what the track temp of the winds are. But we've seen a lot of close racing here and a lot of drivers trying to find a way. There's your weather. Look at that, 119 degrees Fahrenheit. Is what we got here. Partly cloudy. Where's our wind at? It is 12 miles an hour to that direction on the screen there. So there you go. There's some pretty steady wind. 12 mile an hour wind, Lorenzo. That is a pretty steady wind.
Yeah, especially I think if it catches to the southeast or northeast, which for portions like that on the third sector, and I think going into the second sector makes a little bit of a difference, where the car needs to be properly balanced up. And like I said before, you can have a tail, like a tail whip on the car, trying to regain control. It's gonna burn up its rears, maybe dust off of some of the front grip. It becomes a little bit difficult to try to cool down the tires during the lap because they eventually get hot around here. And like I said before, the one thing you really want to have in a track like this is clear air. The clear air is your best friend here as we look into the number 70, trying to defend into the inside, but apparently nothing's going to happen so far into this lap because, like I said before, it's very hard to overtake over here. Really, really hard.
Yep, the overtaking is hard, but you almost saw it happen there as we saw a dip into the corner, and I was curious if they were going to try to make it stick, but no, but they're still going to be battling here out of this corner. This is an onboard shot. I believe this to be James Carter with the onboard.
Yeah, yep.
So there you go. See, James is pretty content. You can always, I think I like the webcam views, Lorenzo, because you can see how calm a setup is or how calm a driver is or how much they like the setup based on what you see in this one shot. Look at that. The hands are barely moving as much as they should for, this type of track. No real big facial expression. It's kind of stone face. If you get someone in a car that they're not comfortable in, that's not how it looks, Lorenzo.
No, absolutely. And more importantly, the medical ventilator, as he goes side by side, I think it's turn number 11 right there. Just giving me some cool vibes right now.
That's good. But yeah, so that's a nice fan right there. That's a nice touch to any sim racing rig right there. Those are important. I know I need one of those when I am racing. But we're looking at the action on track. We got a 3-car battle right here. We got a pass happening on the outside, beautifully set up here. And now it's going to give that driver the inside advantage here into the next corner.
Yeah, I think that was McPherson making the overtake, and eventually also James Nonmaker making the overtake as well. The 326 and the 42 of Kevin Lehman also make that overtake. So it got a little bit clean. I think what happened to Carter, maybe dust down on 12 and going to 13, it lost entirely its edge of the car, and the inside, for all it's worth, gave you some good lines. But even if you're on the outside, we've seen that on F1, overtakes can happen just because the exit of the corner going to the final turn to 13 and 14, it's really wide, so you have some room to make that overtake.
Here we are. This is our battle for first on the screen here. This is Juan Cofre and J.R. Williams. This is still within roughly half a second of each other, 6 laps in. Now, we've seen races this season where Juan Cofre or others have quickly pulled away from the field. Now, they kind of have from third place Stephen Verity, but he's still 2 seconds back. But these drivers right now are trying to sit. If you're J.R. Williams, you just want to stay in the fight right now, I think.
No, you have to stick as close as you can towards your teammate, or towards your I think we have issues maybe. Yes, I saw Blake Zini dropping down on the board, and so let's see what happened to Zini going to number 10, 9, and 10. Ooh, having some contact with the number 22. Just
catch a curb there?
He kind of did, and had a side contact with Manuel Vargas, and I think their axle, the left axle, left front of this car, I think broke down and just cannot continue anymore.
That's unfortunate for Blake Ziti, who's had a kind of an up and down season so far, but always unfortunate to see someone wreck a car. And when you're someone like Vargas right there, that's the unfortunate part because he did nothing wrong. He was there, he's driving his line, right? And all of a sudden there's a car in front of you. That's the most frustrating thing about racing, whether it be real life or sim racing. Nice pass to the inside here. He's not gonna make it stick, but he definitely made an effort at it there. Maybe he does here. Hold on. Nope. That's not still stick, but that's the hard part of sim racing is sometimes you're doing everything right, Lorenzo, and all of a sudden there's a car sideways in front of you, and as much as you try not to, you just end up T-boning them, just by accident.
It's the unluck factor, and unfortunately, I think we just saw right there for Swindell's as he makes the overtake on Lucy Kaczynski. I think Kaczynski might have got a very tiny slowdown for being way too wide on turn 5, and unfortunately caught himself in the process, and the Atomic Geezers driver made the overtake, and now he's going to be attacking, going to be defending a little bit, also still trying to hunt on Percentos in front of them, and wondering how, and this is another thing we haven't mentioned. How many off tracks does these guys have? Because it's very easy to pick up some off tracks, especially going into turn number 11 and turn number 5, where there doesn't have a lot of breathing room for tracks exploration or shenanigans whenever you have these kind of mistakes.
That's true, and you know what? That's important to talk about because the Precision Racing League has some rules about that. There's a certain incident point limit where you'll get asked to do a drive-through, and if you continue still to violate the off tracks, you'll just be disqualified. And not only do you get disqualified, you score 0 points for this race, not last place points or whatever you have. 0 points. That is a hard night to swallow here in week 5 of this series. We're seeing a great on-track battle. They're going to be almost 3 wide here at the Hungaroring. That is not something you see very commonly, except for maybe that first lap, first corner, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We've seen 3 wide going into that turn number 2. Fortunately, we didn't set that kind of action over here, and with the only Sachinsky making the move on Swindell. I think he just lost a little bit to try to go side by side into turn number 2, but because of it, allowed Chinsky to catch back P16 out of some of the geezers driving now in the hunting spot of Oliver Santos, who's right now on when you are at the front of the pack and you look like a train or a freight truck just blocking everyone's path. I think that's what everybody's right behind Santos are feeling right now.
They definitely are. Look at him trying to swerve, and I think they might have got it. They're going to try to make the pass on the outside, which, as you documented, can be possible in certain corners. And I think they've got Santos here. Let's take a look up to the inside. Now they'll have the advantage. And that by Chinsky will be a successful pass here. And I believe that will put him up to P15 here as we come around to finish this lap.
Yeah, and you can see a little bit of a wide open entry for Santos, but cannot make the overtake. But here we go, main straight. It's not the largest of straights here, but you can already see Chinsky defending the inside, nearly Michael Schumacher versus Barrichello. But I think Chinsky has this one in the bag unless he does a massive mistake into turn number 1, but doesn't look like it, and he's going to retain P15 for now.
Yeah, looked like Santos tried to make the crisscross there, or the crossover, and make a pass happen. And big props to Santos because he is really all over this driver. He's just trying. Oh, that looked a little scary. Wow, that was a great camera shot right there, just out of pure luck, I believe. But man, to see that car wiggle like that, and to think if we saw that wiggle, how much bigger did it feel inside the car, Lorenzo? That's one of my rules in commentary. If we can see the wiggle, it must have been really bad in the car. Lorenzo, talk to us here in a second. There you go.
Yeah, I did the Cardinals thing.
That's okay.
It happens. But anyway, like I was saying before, when my mic muted, it's just, you definitely feel that. And in a track like that, even this tiniest mistake, like you can see, makes the entire difference. As one tiny mistake just did 2 position loss for Chinsky, and now he has to fight it all back. And to make matters worse, there's 3 more drivers in the mix who are coming. I think 3-4 car train, starting with Swindell's, Nonamaker, McPherson, and Calder. I think just following closer and actually catching this bunch.
That's right. The more you race side by side and the more you are making moves that are not normal, you're scrubbing speed. Every time you snake that straightaway, you're scrubbing speed, and those guys are going to catch up here. And that's when it gets kind of dangerous. When you have 5, 6, 7 cars in a battle, that's more likely to have some kind of calamity than just a couple of you. But we're about coming up on the halfway point of this race. Juan Kofure is still your leader. He's opened up just slightly to 0.8 of a second now. So Williams is still, hanging on there for P2. But now we come to that weekly talk we have, Lorenzo, of when the pit stops happen.
For some of the guys that prefer, like Kofre Williams, you want to try maybe pit at the very latest. For Kofre, is definitely at the very latest. You can try to take an ounce of fuel. But the thing is, for Williams, what he might do, massive wiggle for Williams coming out of number 12, but still manages to keep it on the track though, is extend yourself in the field. Maybe try an undercut over here. Sometimes it's really powerful. I've seen also overcut, depending on how much track clearance you have, might also work it out. As we're back into Santos, battling himself again with, from what it looks like, with Swindell's trying on the outside because of bullet. But for those kind of guys right here, right now.
Hold on. Oh. I'm sorry to cut you off. I thought he was going to lose that car.
No,
Never mind.
I thought as well. Nice save. Maybe an undercut strategy here might work, and we see someone already blinking. Here we go. It's
going on pit road.
Chinsky. Yeah, Chinsky on the pit road.
Sometimes in life you have to be less than, better than, or different than to be successful in life, and that strategy is definitely different than the rest of the field. He wants to get in there early. Maybe find himself some clean air, Lorenzo. That's one of the benefits of being pitting off cycle is now there's no traffic. You may get a clean lap run, and who knows what happens.
Yeah, definitely. You can basically be very effective with the car and get some really good time gain on those guys who are actually defending and battling for positions and losing maybe 1 second to 1.5 seconds, depending on how aggressive or how much of time loss you were having battling for positions. As Zeke comes out P21, and I think we have issues with Gonçalves here as he was battling against Crane first. I think it looks like 2 position loss for the sub racing driver.
It looks that way indeed. Well, we're on 11, working lap 12 here at the Hungaroring, this beautiful 70,000 seat facility here in Hungary, of course, home of the Hungarian F1, as you said at the beginning of the broadcast here. This is one of those tracks that, it's used, not as commonly as other tracks across iRacing, I don't think. And this is a track that I find amongst my friends, Lorenzo, that either is a love or hate. There's no middle road opinions about this track, right?
Yeah, some people love it because I think nowadays, because of the F1 cars and things like that, or we see these cars the most. We can even try to I wish we could bring Chaz Draycott, which is our fellow RaceSpot commentator, and most notably, he is the European Truck Racing Championship commentator. So he's commentary for that, as we're going to see what happened to Gonçalves, the Brazilian driver. Looks like to be on turn number 8. 9 and having some difficulties with the Brazilian as he comes out of the corner.
And it's funny you mentioned the European trucks. I was looking at track records earlier, and of all the vehicles that have turned laps here in real life, the European trucks have the slowest record lap at just over 2 minutes at this track. Let me peek in my research for a second. I thought I had written down, and I don't. I think we have an F3 time here. Maybe we have a Formula 4 time of 1:43.297, but I don't see an F3 time for this track in real life.
If I remember, F3s don't
I do.
race around.
I apologize. I do have one. It's a 1:34.195 in real life. It was set in 2020 by Jake Hughes, actually.
Yeah, I don't remember if nowadays they do run F3s around here. I think it's the F2 instead of the F3s. I cannot remember 100% out of memory around the calendar and F1 calendar. But for small cars, this can provide some decent racing. For F1, we know this can be a good race. I think in the last 2-3 years, because of how the cars are made to be able to handle better the aero drag and high downforce track like this, you are getting more races. I think some of the best races of the season, the more enticing races of the season, were in actually Hungaroring. Also, with another factor that the weather has played some part of here, and this is one of the tracks that I think weather makes it or break it in terms of greatness. If we have a rejoining car, don't know which car that is though, as we see someone of course pitting.
And that's how fast it can happen here at this track. This is a fast-moving track. Ironically, not the fastest version of this track in history, Lorenzo. This track has been kind of reconfigured or redone. This is its 3rd version of it. Of course, the first version only lasted for a couple years, so I think from 86 through 88, if I remember right. But this is not the fastest version of this track we've ever seen.
No, I think the fastest version, I think, was back in the late 80s to the early 90s. It was the second configuration, where he had some more different, more speedy layouts with less than 90-degree turns, especially to the second sector, where they made it a little bit more slower, I think, just due to the track nature itself. But nowadays, it's arguably one of these worst tracks for, like I said, it is one of the worst tracks for overtaking, because you work yourself with patience quite a lot, and you always finding yourself into either under someone's arrow range, and it's quite difficult because you don't want to burn up the rears. But definitely a track that for GT racing on small can provide some great racing, like International GT Challenge or the World GT Challenge when they come from time to time. As we see issues maybe for Cranefuss and Vasconcelos individually.
Maybe so, but we're looking right now at the battle for first and second here, and this is still tight. This is still within 1 second here, still within that drafting range, if you will, between Juan Cofre and J.R. Williams here, and they are still bad. In fact, we saw on the graphic in the bottom right, last time J.R. Williams just smidgen faster around this course than Cofre, so they're going to battle it out, continue here. We're now past halfway, so any moment now, we can see more and more. In fact, we're seeing on the side, Blake Ziti's now on pit road. You can see that on the graphic on the left-hand side of your screen. So, I don't know. I think if I was J.R. Williams, I would want to try the undercut here, Lorenzo. Obviously, that dirty air is hurting. But here's a replay of what happened earlier we may have missed. This is Ryan Miles going to cut the inside of one. Oh, it just booped him.
Yeah, the traditional turn one overtake that usually goes wrong, and unfortunately it did right there.
It really did. So as I was saying, though, coming back for a second, if you're J.R. Williams, I would think you'd want to take the undercut. Listen, you're turning slightly faster lap times than the leader. Obviously, that dirty air is probably holding you up here. I would be inclined to want to see if I could undercut him and get around him that way.
Yeah, I would like to see the strategy as well. Try something different, because it's going to be quite hard for you to be on pace alone. Not saying that the Williams cannot do it. He can, because if you are second place and you're not strung out on someone else dirty air other than the leader, you can kind of, catch back a little bit and be in a position to make that overtake, but you kind of have to force the car a little bit, counter the mistake of Cofre. And if it opens up a room, maybe the tiniest room for an overtake, and you can kind of take advantage out of it, maybe you can do it. But it's gonna take something extra from the number 13 to try to best himself on Cofre. As like I said before, this is kind of like a slow chess match. Whereas let's just say if you did that on the official series, because every race we do in the F3 season mimics the official season in iRacing, except for the laps. They are longer here because you have a pit stop. Makes that chance match nice.
Yeah, it does. I was going to mention that earlier when you said it's hard to pass here. So what that does, that makes it more of a mental race for me, more of a strategy call. But man, you can tell Juan Cofre is pushing this car. The amount of times it is just kind of wiggling out of a corner and just kind of not perfect. It's just kind of sideways sometimes. You can tell he's pushing. This is not one of his easier runs as far as pacing the field here. So we're going around pit road again. They're not going to pit starting the next lap here. And I said, if I was J.R. Williams, I'm so curious what he could do without that dirty. Let me take this timing and scoring here. Last time by, yeah, they're that close. They're within almost a tenth of a second again of each other. So they're running almost identical lap times.
Yeah, and just bringing yourselves over here. They have to pit any time soon. Just to let you know, official race here in the official season is 18 laps. So maybe we're going to be seeing 18, maybe 19 laps coming out of these drivers with the setup that they have. It kind of mimics the same setup that you have on the official, so you might have a lap extra. So you might have that opportunity maybe to overshot yourself for one lap and maybe do an over. In terms of I just forgot in terms of undercut and overcut. Actually, I remember the name. English sometimes is a complicated language. Overcut the other driver and find yourself ahead and leaving the lug back to the other driver to try to catch up with you.
Yep. So just kind of put our viewers in perspective. 11th on back has already been down pit road and had their service done. Everyone's pretty much identical on their pit stop times, so there's a couple different strategies in play here. But 10th on back, so let's run through it. Juan Cofre, J.R. Williams, Stephen Verity, Boris Ovando, Andrew Moran, Francisco Goncalves, Dominic Olivier, Ryan Miles, Daniel Cranefuss, and Jake Vasconcelos. 10th. That's your 10 drivers who have not pitted yet. So I'm just surprised we're still going here. I would have thought, obviously the advantage to pitting later is a shorter pit stop, right?
Yeah, by a few tenths of a second. And here, I think here's the biggest factor is how you gain time on the pit entry, because pit entry you can be a little bit aggressive. You can basically, it's very similar to Nürburgring because you can kind of go full flat out and then slow into the turn and regain acceleration until you have to brake to match the pit limit, which is over here is 80 kilometers per hour due to being an F1 track, and find yourself within some good groove. I think Gonçalves had a really good moment to pit because he's going to get a lot of clean track. I think the other ones might find themselves in a more bunched up field closer to another driver depending on the circumstances, since we have still a lot of people in the track right now.
Yeah, we do. So as of the end of tonight, of course, officially on the points, we'll of course see Julio Palacio fall down in the standings. He is not here tonight. But after week 5, those drop weeks do kick in. So he'll just drop a 0, and that'll help him a little bit in that standings. But I would assume, based on how we look right now in lap 17, Juan Cofre would be your points leader coming out of this race. Once again, I would assume we'll wait and see how this race finishes out. But wow, what a great, I mean, you said in some ways, this is not a great overtake race, but watching these guys all stick with each other, fight with that dirty air. Oh, there's J.R. Williams. There's that move we've been waiting for.
Yeah.
So we'll keep an eye on that, see how he does here. We're going to get just past the camera. There we go, past the pit wall. We'll watch this pit stop time here as he gets in the box. See him coming down pit road. There's a couple other cars coming with him. This will be, I'm guessing, what, sub 5 seconds, right?
Something like it, yes.
Let's take a look. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 4.5.
I think
And now,
the best you can get is about 4 seconds max.
He's got one car ahead of him here, so we'll see how he deals with this green and red car here. We're seeing just a little bit of connectivity problem here, but there's a big enough gap there for that dirty air not to be in play yet. So he might get a couple good laps here.
No, absolutely. The factor is if he's going to get stuck with Vasconcelos have to pit. Everybody into the top 5 more appropriately have to pit. They are obligated to pit in this lap or the next one. So we expect the fight back movement from Cofre and everybody else in the front to be done right now as we shift back into Morin and Gonçalves. Morin being able to just stay ahead from Gonçalves for a little bit, but the Brazilian trying to fight back into the corners, but I don't think he's gonna be wanting to fight on this second sector where quite easily since you're turning way too much.
It definitely can. And the thing to note as well, Juan Cofre has led this whole race by just default of how life works and how science works and how racing works. He will have burned more fuel than J.R. Williams. J.R. Williams probably had an oomph of a draft for this whole race. So now when Cofre comes down here to pit, he's going to take a little bit longer on pit road, I would think. Here he is. Let's watch this box time. Remember, 4.5 was the time for J.R. Williams, and I'll look at box to box in a second here, but let's watch this here. He's going to put it right up top there, just under our standing board there. Oh my goodness, a half second. Now that does not seem like a lot when you're comparing pit road times.
JR on
but
the
there
outside.
He is.
Here we go.
And now J.R. Williams controls all the dirty air. That half second on pit road, what does that equate to on track, Lorenzo?
5 seconds, I think you get about 20 in terms of pit stops. It's at about 30 seconds, 30 to 27 seconds. It's between 27 to 30 seconds. I'm gonna get that information to you in a little bit and really back to time limits. Here we go. 22.7 in the lane for J.R. Williams, 24 seconds for Cofre.
That tells me that one of them probably had a slightly better. J.R. Williams had a slightly better pit entrance.
Yeah.
Than Cofre. So it wasn't just the in box time, it was the whole pit road that's going to put him out in the lead here. Now, the question we have is, can Cofre run him down with the laps remaining?
Because I think he had the cleaner air for the majority of the race, his tires on the rear have probably been hotter than Williams throughout. But the biggest difference in here, in my point of view, is the gap. The gap 1.2 that is being maintained right now by Williams through the corners. Of course, it went down a little bit because I think of how Cofre is driving aggressively to try to make up the time and try to be within that draft. Is my play out in the Factory Williams as we see 3 wide.
Wow. We would typically see that next week when we do our oval races together here on RaceSpotTV. That's not a common thing for the Hungaroring to see 3 wide. Of course, next week, most of our NASCAR action will be at Richmond Raceway. But no. Ooh, wow, look at that track. You mentioned those earlier. I'm beginning to wonder how many people might be in trouble with penalties here towards the end of this race, Lorenzo.
Yeah, because I've seen them drive quite aggressively. You can run kind of wide on that turn number 1. I think where Gonsalves kind of did his corner exit is pretty much valid, but I don't know if turn number 5 precisely did something to him, or turn number 4 rather played its effect. Let's see how they can get in this one now. Yeah, clean run. I don't think there will be an off-track incident. It's just that the turn number 4 is quite peculiar on how you run yourself off with the wheels. If you just put like 2 wheels a little bit deeper than usual and get that green stuff, it's not an AstroTurf, but you know it's kind of like a concrete rumble strip. Right. You can actually get a off-track incident, and if that builds up, the same thing over here for turn 11. If you just run a little bit wider than usual, even if it is the tiniest mistake, you can actually get an off-track incident, and that racks up and mental effect, and it's that psychology you really don't want to be in right now.
No, because that can really mess with your head if you know you're trying to fight a penalty towards the end of this race. But I want to focus for a second, if we can, on that 2 car, Boris Ovando, back in P4. This is a driver who did not start last week. His drop week for this season will be a 0, but he's in 13th in points right now. If he finishes P4, he will shoot up the standings, I would think, and probably be in our top 10 graphic next week.
Just taking a quick look where the rest of the championship are in the track. Vasconcelos just outside of the top 10. Here we go, nearly moved for the lead. I'll take it back to you, and I'll get the mathematics going a little bit.
Yeah, you got to believe Juan Cofre is hungry. Still got some dog left in him. He wants to get up there and get this lead. And, connection. Oh, there we go. Okay. So what we're seeing here, at least on track on the screen here, I'll acknowledge it for a second. Maybe an oomph of a connection problem for J.R. Williams, where he just kind of disappears for a second. Fairly stable, but as a competitor, Lorenzo, what does that do to you if you see that happening in front of you? Does it make you nervous? Does it make you more anxious to get around him? Do you want to back up? What happens in that moment?
Yeah, you definitely get some heebie-jeebies to try to make an overtake, because you don't know if you get side by side. You either get some sort of air or something like it, and an injury race potentially, just because the instability of the client version or the internet version of the driver that you're battling against. So definitely you do get a little bit apprehensive, but we have race control. I think they are looking into this as well. If they say this is way too much and you have to, fix it, or otherwise you might get a black flag. That can happen sometimes. Already did already a few occasions here on PRL. So let's keep watching Williams as laps go down.
Yep, so we're going to see it here. They're going to go down the front straight. Cofre is going to think about setting up a move. I think he's too far back yet.
Yep.
It's going to stay in low. Let's dig to the inside of that corner. Almost got him, but right there it is. Now, you talked about the points leaders earlier. Of course, Julio Palacios taking the night off. Cofre, Verity, and Gonsalves those are your top 3 after that in points. They're all within the top 5 of this race, so they will probably secure that. But then, like I said, Boris Ovando in P4, that's the big one right now. That it probably stands to gain the most right now.
No, absolutely, because I don't see any around competition except for J.R. Williams.
Who's P7 in points.
Yeah. So both of these drivers are going to get massive lift-ups in terms of the point standings, but we have to also take care of the week, so we have to see, whereas the other bad results like for ZD, McPherson, Nonamaker have been in the championship job weeks, and looking at it, nobody except for J.R. Williams and Verity already used a DNS for job week.
Right, Palacio will use it this week. Yeah. So walk me through the last couple laps, right? You're Juan Cofre. You are a 0.2 of a second back. You're trying to find that spot here. We're going to start lap 23 in a moment. You're trying to find that spot to make that pass. If you're Juan Cofre, where do you want to push the hardest to get around J.R. Williams?
Set yourself up on turn number 1, overtake on turn number 2, and don't lose yourself way too much because you already have Verity up in your rear view wing in a little bit.
And almost like you predicted it right there's J.R. Williams trying to protect and snake that draft, and now there's Cofre inside. They'll be side by side through turn number 2. No, they will not. J.R. Williams will get back out front. I thought they were going to be side by side there.
Same.
But look at what that did, point you made earlier. By doing that, they let Verity and Boris Ovando back in this race. Now it's a 4-car race for the lead, Lorenzo.
Yeah, but I think this might actually become a 2-car lead. I think Ovando wants to be at 3rd place, and by being the 3rd place, I think he's going to overdrive himself a little bit more than probably wants to, and because of it, being line break off in terms of being in the draft off Cofre, I think they have to be patient going to the 2nd sector. Just drive their best. Don't push the car. Just be within the draft range and wait for a potential mistake of whether Cofre Williams might make it to turn number 1 and capitalize on the mistake.
Yeah, we're looking back there from Stephen Verity in that Rust Racing Iron Machine, trying to hold off Boris Ovando. That's 3rd and 4th you're looking at. Now we're back wide shot. 1, 2, 3, and 4, all within 1.3 seconds. As I think back to this season of F3 and the end of last season where I started helping out with this series, this has got to be the closest 1, 2, 3, and 4 battle I can think of in this series. We're about to start just a couple laps left, Lorenzo, coming around here to the final corner, down this long straight, the longest straight we have, and as you said, the biggest opportunity. Let's take a look at a replay here. This is gonna be Blake CD again. Oh man, what a rough night for Blake, probably. Just tried to cut it too close on the inside. What happened there, Lorenzo?
Yeah, I think just cut himself into the middle of the apex of the last corner, and I think by pushing himself way too much, the rear end just kind of kicked in. I don't know if the damage also had played into any effect right there for Ziti, but not the best night for the Precision Racing driver right there, and definitely might be his drop week to be used right here.
And it looked like I'm not sure, he disappeared right after that moment. That makes me wonder if he was one of those drivers in concerns for the incident points. We'll have to check on that as the race concludes. But right now we've got a 4-car battle coming here with about 2 laps to go. Now, of those 4 cars, Lorenzo, who's in the best spot? Obviously, you want to say J.R. Williams because he's in the lead. But now we're going to look back for a second here. Hold on. This is going to be Calix Poon and Andrew Moran. This is 8th and 9th on track here. But of those 4 drivers up front, if we can go back there, who's in the best spot? Who do you want to be right now? Do you want to be first? Do you want to be Cofre, Verity, or Ovando? Where would you most want to be in this moment?
Of the 3 hunters, you want to be either Verity or Cofre. Cofre, because you're not battling against someone more than 1 car up in front of you. Verity, because you have the effect of 2 cars battling each other, and they're probably going to go side by side as they open up lap 25, second to last lap is going to be open. So if the potential of going side by side, any contact happen between both of them in the front of you, you might go from 3rd to 1st, and that's basically a jackpot any given day of the week. As now Ovando try to look for anything on the inside, but it just makes it a little bit of a right effort instead of an overtaking effort on the 0-4 car.
On the wide shot there, we saw a lapped car up ahead. I do not think that will be a factor here before we come around to finish our 2 laps. But if that does play a factor, who knows what happens here. We see him well out of the shot. I think they'll be fine. But something I picked up on that turn 1 with Lorenzo was J.R. Williams must feel more confident in where he is. He was not snaking that straightaway. He just stayed in a straight line and had no problems with Cofre drafting that time.
I think you have to be around 0.3 of a second and have a really good corner exit. In the last corner, for you to have any chance of riding the coattails of the back wing of the guy in front of you and set yourself up for an overtake. I think that's what Cofre probably will do moving forward, as if he doesn't overdrive the car too much and he still has some off-track incidents, some incident points to use. I think that is what he's going to do moving forward, and maybe use a one-off into the last corner and set himself up for the last lap overtake, as they're about 2 corners away from the last lap.
That's right. We're just close to the white flag. Williams, of course, won 2 weeks ago at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, known as MoSport. Came away with the victory there. And now, white flag in the air at Hungaroring, in Hungary. And he wants to see if he can do it again. The last chance maybe now for Kofre to get this big run out of one. We're seeing it from the back end. Kofre does not get there. Runs it a little wide. I think right now, J.R. Williams has to be able to breathe a little bit, not completely, but I think he has just a slight bit of air he can exhale here. He's got a little bit of a gap.
Yeah, he has that gap. I think Kofre kind of overdrove the car into the last corner.
Wow, I saw Williams get up on the curb there, and I got really scared with how far that car was tracking out, but he got a hold of it.
Yeah, which is the really good thing for Williams right now. I think if he doesn't make any mistakes moving forward into the second sector and third, he has this one in the bag. I think now opens up for Verity to get closer, maybe do a sector 3 overtake on Kofre. So I think now Kofre, instead of being the hunter, he's going to be the hunted for a few set of corners. We saw also Vando behind trying to look for an overtake, but I don't think that number 2 is going to be able to pull anything off on the second sector.
He was looking, though. He was curious to see what could make happen. I saw it just try to change the line and make something else happen here. But here we're looking at J.R. Williams coming up and setting around in the last couple corners here. Now we see a little bit of snaking, but nothing too serious. And Kofre is still right there. He is not letting up at all. But here we come out of the final corner. And breathe easy and celebrate if you're J.R. Williams, because for the second time this season in the PRL F3 Series, you are a winner and going to victory lane. What a race, Lorenzo. That was fun.
That was fun. That was really fun. These tense moments for the battle for the lead into the final, into these final 4 or 5 laps. Kofre tried his best. I think he just overdrove the car way too much. Tried to self himself into the last corner for potential turn 1, turn 2 overtake, and Williams just driving cool, calm, and collected, and was able to distance himself off in the SRT Sports Blue. I told him, Palacio had a really good outing this race. Williams being the one that picks up Palacio's job of doing really well, so SRT is gonna skyrocket themselves into the point standings maybe for this race. But other than that, a really interesting race so far, except for that lap 1 incident that we have a pretty clean race from everyone, and the chess games being played throughout.
Yeah, really great race. And you kind of made a point there, maybe not location wise, but just track wise. Maybe SRT Esport Blues ready to kind of plant a flag here at Hungaroring and just call it their home track because they're performing like it. We're going to watch a couple last drivers come around here and finish up before we show you our unofficial results. And there you go, just making that quiet turn. That's Kevin McPherson we're looking at here in that 70 machine. And he's just going to finish off, do a little weave just to celebrate that he survived. I believe that's our last car here to finish. All right, let's look at our results. So J.R. Williams, no surprise, is your winner by half a second over Juan Kofre. Stephen Verity's in third. Boris Ovando's in fourth. Francisco Gonçalves, is in fifth. Dominic Olivier, Ryan Miles, Andrew Moran, Calix Poon, and Stephen Ritters round out your top 10. Let's move back to P11 here. So there we go. Daniel Coranfus is in 11th. Robert Ridgway is in 12th. Jake Vasconcelos is in 13th with Richard Swindells. Josh Wachensky, Olivia Rodriguez Santos, Manuel Vargas, all rounding up 17th. James Nonamaker up to 18th. Kevin McPherson's in 19th. And James Carter, it rounds out your top 20. Then those are the last drivers here. The first driver's a lap down. That's going to be Nicholas Collender, Caleb Lehman, Blake Ziti. And then the drivers involved in early accidents, Michael Johnson, Christian Jasper, Takeshi Kita, Jeff Groff, and Brett Thurman round out your top 28. And of course, Juan Kofre back on lap 4 set your fastest lap. Wow, wow, wow. What a great race, Lorenzo. Well, let's go ahead and just not wasting time. Let's go ahead and bring in J.R. Williams and Lorenzo. Let's go and talk with him.
Yeah, absolutely. JR, congratulations on this win. Second win of the season from what it looks like here on the PRL F3 Championship, and definitely picking up the slack a little bit from Palacio, who's not here today, but so far a really good result for yourself and the team in SRT Sports Blue.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, we're really sad. Palacio had a power outage from a storm in his area, so he had to miss tonight. So I'm glad I could pick up some good points for us.
Yeah, definitely. And talk us through this race. You've been behind the code for the entirety of the race, except for when the pit stop happened. And you got basically 2 seconds out of him coming out of the pit stop. And what was the strategy? Just follow him until the pit stop comes, try to do a little bit of an undercut. Was that the idea, or did you see any openings to try to go for an overtake on P1 before the pit stop happened?
No, I couldn't get a good run on him. He's obviously running less downforce this week, so I couldn't get a good run unless I was really, really close. So I thought the undercut was my best shot. I did feel like I had more pace, so I just needed a good in and out lap, and it worked out well.
Definitely, and surely. Now we move ourselves from Hungaroring, which is a very short track. We go to Aragon, which is a very different track in terms of how you race around here. And if you have to think about Aragon, how do you prepare yourself for a track that it races completely different, and it is the first time you guys are going to be tackling the Spanish track ever in iRacing with these F3 cars?
Yeah, I've only done a few laps during week 13, so it's going to be pretty fresh and new for me. I'm very excited though. I think it's going to be a good fun track. I'm hoping it'll be one where we can have some passing opportunities. But yeah, I'll just put in the laps and put in the practice with Palacio and hope for the best.
Definitely. Well, JR, congratulations on your maiden win here on the F3 season, just coming out of the podium, going to the top spot, and we'll see you next week.
Sounds good. I hope to see you in the broadcast. Thank you.
Definitely.
All right. Well, that is J.R. Williams, of course, our winner tonight. I'm going to catch up with a man who almost needs no introduction. He's ready to change his address to the interview room. Stephen Verity, great job tonight in your finish here. How do you feel about tonight's race?
Man, I'm glad it's over. That was very intense. Yeah, it was. I mean, as you saw, just super tight. There's nothing in it. Any lockup or anything was gonna result in the change of position. So it was challenging, I'd say, with the tires. I think we probably stretched them to their limit. I didn't look at the. I haven't looked at what I finished with tire life, but I suspect it wasn't a lot. So it was a tough race, but ultimately really fun. Congrats to JR. That was when I saw him come ahead as we came out of the pits. I was like, damn, he did it. And he had great pace. So congrats to him. That was a really good win and a hard fought race by the whole top four.
Yeah, a really great race to the top four. So what was more nerve wracking, the race of the two cars in front of you, or knowing you had someone that close behind you with like 4 laps to go? Which was more nerve wracking?
Boris behind was much. I was much more concerned. Kind of what's going to happen ahead is what's going to happen, and maybe I would have been able to capitalize. But I was pretty focused on keeping Boris behind, and he had a couple of unexpected sends. Which kudos to him. But I managed to just eke it out. So that was definitely my focus.
So, of course, next week, the drop weeks kick in, so we'll wait and see what happens with the points after that. Of course, we just heard Julio missed tonight's race due to a power outage, so that'll be his drop for the season. But now we move on to Aragon. We go, as Lorenzo said a minute ago, one of the smallest tracks to a not so much small track on the service, but it's a newer track. So what is your experience with Aragon so far?
I have never been there. I don't even own it. So, but unfortunately, I'm going to miss the next couple of weeks, so I'm definitely out of the championship fight. I am actually changing my physical address to
the podium interview booth. I'm
moving into the interview booth, actually. Yeah, but no, I'm moving across the country next week. So my rig is going to be in transit, and I am unfortunately going to miss the next few races. So.
Well, the important question I have is, are you moving to the best coast known as the West Coast?
I sure am moving to the West Coast.
There you go. Yeah. That's the life right there. That's the life.
I'm sick of this New York City summer, I will tell you. So
it's not much better out here in Portland, Oregon. I'll tell you, it's all hot and icky out here too. But
I'm moving to Portland, actually. So
sweet. All right.
Yeah. Nice. Out there.
Nice. Well, so last question: are you running the 24 Hours of Spa this weekend?
I am not. I am packing up the rig tomorrow. So no more racing for me for the next few weeks, which I'm very sad about. But
All right.
that's the reality.
That is the reality. Well, good luck on the move, and we'll see you back in a couple weeks here in the F3 Series.
Thanks, Al. Have a good one.
Thank you. All right. Well, that is Stephen Verity. He finished third this evening. Pardon me. Juan Codre finished second in this evening. Well, Lorenzo, as we begin to wrap up here tonight, a much tighter race than I think. Look at this schedule ahead. Now, Aragon, Donington, Nürburgring, Belle Isle, and Laguna Seca to round out this championship. But a great race tonight. Closer than you expected?
It was much better than I expected it to be here. Hungaroring Aragon is going to be quite interesting how they kind of navigate through the second sector of the track, going to the last one because it gets a little bit more faster. It's as twisty as Hungaroring, but it's more wide open and less mandated on in terms of downforce, so you can use drag. Also, the last sector where you have the massive straight leading to the final corner of Aragon, so might play into some very risky overtakes. So I'm interested to see how they will do next week around this track, most definitely.
All right, well, as the graphic on the screen tells you, next week, July 26th, 2023, 9:30 p.m. Eastern, 8:30 Pacific, or as for Steve and I, 6:30 Pacific. You better catch all the action here on RaceSpot.tv at Motorland Aragon. Well, tonight for Lorenzo Bonder, filling in for my partner Justin Prince, I'm Derek Watts. Thank you so much for tuning in to F3 Series for Pure Precision Racing League here on RaceSpot.tv.